Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Shout out to Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I'm going to reply to Mrs. Venus Opal Reese. And I'm going to reply to Dr. Tiasan Johnson's question. Are black men ready for a sincere apology? First, black men are ready for a sincere apology as long as we know what's sincere. The question is, how would we know that? I mean, we're ready for a sincere apology, but we're not ready to tell a sincere one apart from an insincere one on a mass scale. There are individuals amongst us who can do so, but there's no study on what percentage of us even can tell. I just go with the educated guess in the meantime that the elders amongst us can tell a sincere apology from an insincere one. But that the younger ones of us would not necessarily know yet, just due to lack of experience, not because we're dumb, but just because of the lack of experience. I'm going to stay within the bounds of what we believe, of course. And I'm going to tell you that a sincere apology is to be accepted so long as you can tell that it's sincere. I'm not one of those that says, forget the apology, hold a grudge. But I am one to say you have every right to not be sure. And as a middle-aged man myself, there are going to be times I don't know. Because a lot of you brothers got a lot more experience with black women than I do, and with the games that they may play, as well as with their sincerity. A lot of you got a lot more experience than I do with their sincerity and with their games. You've had, some of you just had more girlfriends than I've had. And you've had longer relationships than I've had. Now, I've been married more times than most men, period, really. And I don't take that as an indicator of success or failure, but an indication of both. But I have the benefit of my parents' experience, and they've been married longer than most people have been married. They're also older than many people as well. So we will be going on for days trying to talk about, can black men accept? Yes, absolutely, of course we can. The question is just going to be, can we understand when it's sincere and when it's not? I'm now going to address Dr. Opal Reese. I'm not familiar with your work, ma'am. I, like Dr. Tiasan Johnson, I don't know much about you. I'm starting off by giving you the benefit of the doubt. And your apology was very touching. I myself think that you meant it. I will not speak on behalf of other black men, especially those older than me, with regards to whether they accept it or not. I will accept it, and I say this with the understanding that one day, because of my description, I may not be allowed to even count myself as black, and I may not be included in the intended audience to whom you apologize. But in the meantime, I myself accept it. I give you the benefit of the doubt in assuming that you are sincere, that you mean it. I'm going to tell you this, though. Two things. First one, we're not gods. It was nice of you to compliment us, but we certainly, I promise you we're not gods. There are black men that are going to argue with me about this, but I'm not the only one that would say that we're not gods. We aren't. Some guys that are 5%ers will disagree. Some of the NOI will disagree. Some people that just have a different belief system will disagree with me, but we're not gods. We did not create one star or planet, or even a satellite. We did not even create one asteroid. We cannot even create an atom. And the reason I stress this point is because we've been seen, as you said, as less than human. We've been trained to see ourselves this way at times. Less than human. Animals. Good for nothing. Here's the issue. As you have stated this, the pendulum has now swung too far the other way in some cases, and now people are saying that we're gods. We're the same as the one that, or we carry some essence of the one that created the universe, including all of its stars and its planets and its solar systems and its galaxies. Ma'am, not a single one of us, even astrophysicists, cannot fully comprehend the distance of a light year. We simply can't. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a brilliant mind, despite his atheism, he himself would admit that he cannot fully grasp the concept, and he studies this. He does the best he can, but we don't know that distance the same way that we know a mile. We just can't know this. By the same token, if we say that we are gods, then that means we take on responsibilities of a god, and we're not capable of that. No human being is, and that is not our fault. If we could see angels and talk to them and hear their responses, they would say that they aren't ready for such responsibilities. The Lord stays awake. He needs nothing. We have wounds, and you recognize and acknowledge these wounds exactly because we are not as invulnerable as God is. God is invulnerable. He needs nothing. He is vulnerable and susceptible to nothing. He depends on nothing and no one. There is nothing and no one comparable or resembling this maker and this creator. And the only reason I even use the pronoun he and him is because in my scripture, he uses that as a default. Because only the female has her own pronouns in most languages, as understood. Many languages don't have a pronoun it or anything surpassing that. So therefore, I'm only using he and him by default, and that's how he is referred to himself in the scriptures. Other than that, I would always be saying the name or one of the titles and one of the attributes. We don't have the capacity. The Lord is alone. We are dependent upon women, and women are dependent upon us. We are interdependent upon each other, as you come to understand. We men have been forced to learn to live alone, and even non-black men are being forced to learn to live alone in the West. As unnatural as it is, we've been forced to learn this, but we were not designed this way. The Creator, the true Lord and God and King of Kings, the true Eternal, did not design us for this. This is just an adaptation we've made out of necessity. I do appreciate your apology, but I want to stress this too. If you're going to do so, and you seem to have a very deep understanding of our talking points, if you really mean it, at some point you're going to have to get out in front of the feminists and call them out, and wage the same ideological warfare against them that they have waged against men, specifically heterosexual men and black men, let alone black heterosexual men. This will cause you to take on wounds similar to the ones that we have taken on. They will be traumatizing. You may not be ready for them. This still is going to be the test of your sincerity. You will find that we will be allies to you, that we mean you well, but by the same token, you will have to go through and feel some of those pains and those wounds, not because we want you to, but simply because the opposition, the feminist crowd, the misandrist, are going to demand this. They're going to insist on inflicting these wounds upon you. If you are a millionaire, they will try their best to make sure that you experience poverty before you pass away. You probably will not. I don't think they'll be that successful, but they're going to try their hardest because they feel you deserve it. You don't toe the line. You don't keep us in a state of subhumanity and subjection to what women want without any rewards that we might want, then believe you me, they're going to try this because their hatred of us is so deep, they will hate you for not hating us. When they see this, they're already going to come for you. By the time you hear this reply of mine, Dr. Venus Opal Reese, they may have already started it because this is how quickly they work. They are not playing around. They are angry with you if they've heard this because you don't hate us enough. They will call you a pick-me and a pick-misha, and those are terms equivalent to when white supremacists call members of their own race the N-word lover because they don't hate us enough. It will be that. You will learn, if you have not learned already, that probably 80% of Black American women hate black men. You will learn why it is that many black men have wound up in the arms of women of other races. Because it was not us that drove black women away, it was black women that drove black men away. And this is so deeply rooted that even in a sphere that is breaking away from the black community, the same toxicity is there. There is a woman that means well, and she really believes that black men drove black women away. And in the new sphere that's breaking away from the black community, she believes that those men are going to do the same thing. I wish that I had better news for you. Also understand that many men are going to say, this is great, but why could you not have come to this realization when you were younger? What they're really asking is, why is it that hardly any black woman has come to this realization while they are young and single and they have all the options in men that a woman is ever going to have? My question is, would you tell these younger women the same thing while they're young and while they've got options in men? Or do you understand that they will not listen? Do you see it as a waste of time, even if it's a requirement? I don't ask you this out of hatred. I ask you this not even out of bitterness, but because I understand that this is what the hell it is going to take. In order for us to have, not even these super strong family structures we romanticize and dream about, which we dream, but even for us to have just family structures that are as strong as we think other races' family structures are, because they're not as strong as we think. But just to get them to the point where they're as strong as they appear to be in these other races of people, and even other groups within our race. It will take for these younger women who are in their teens to see things the way that you see them now. Now, they can wake up and see this, and that's good for them on a personal level. But understand, even when you say, I forgive you, hold up. Most of us don't need that forgiveness because we didn't do anything. Very few men can go around and break as many women's hearts as women say have broken hearts. As there are women raising their hands when you say how many of you have had your hearts broken. Most of us could not do that. That just goes back to how women select men, and that's okay as long as men and women are honest with each other and with ourselves about how women select men. Most men will not be chosen that many times to go around breaking hearts, and then a few men are going to be chosen by so many women that them simply not choosing back will break these women's hearts, contributing to the high numbers of women that would raise their hands when asked such questions. Women simply do not want most men that they see. The few men that many women want are not all going to be willing to go and break hearts. And so therefore, most of us don't need forgiveness. We aren't even walking around bitter about it. We're simply saying we will not accept an apology if you're saying, I forgive you, and we didn't even do it and we did not have the opportunity. Most of us have to do so doggone furthermucking much to get a date. Forget breaking her heart, that we don't even understand what these women are talking about. Until we come to understand that they have all chosen the same few men. And then they've all given more opportunities to the same few men amongst those few men that would break their hearts. Because they wanted to change men. This is important. Without this understanding, and without young women understanding this, there will be no strength to the black family as a structure. Admixed or unmixed, there will be none, because it'll still be a situation in which the men that women don't really want as first choice are expected to pay for the sins and crimes and heartbreaking actions of the few men that all the women wanted. And that still is going to alienate men. Other women understand when they are young. They understand maybe not high school, but in college you need to be looking for your husband if you want one. You need to validate and cherish good men who will be a husband. And you cannot look for perfection or you'll never find anyone. They understand this. Black women of non-Western origins understand this. And they understand this when they are young, when they are in college. They understand it by the end of their first year in college. If we're talking about strengthening the black family, because you're talking about building, and I know that means family, because that's everything. I agree. Unfortunately, what you have come to recognize is key. It is necessary. Well, that's the good thing. But unfortunately, there is a trend and pattern of women understanding this only when they cannot start families. I'm not blaming you per se. What I'm asking is, are you ready to go and stand out in front of these young women who have all the options in men and tell them this? Also understand one thing. When I say this, I'm not saying this because of what I missed out on. I'm actually not attracted to women much younger than I am. To be honest with you, I'm not. That's not my type. I'm saying this on behalf of other men, and I'm saying this because I've had the benefit of being with a non-Western wife, two non-Western wives who have loved and spoiled me, and I have loved and spoiled them as much as I possibly could. This is about you. It's not about me. But that question remains, and that is the litmus test. I accept your apology. Others are free to accept or not. But the litmus test of sincerity is very difficult. Be ready if you can. Thanks for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum.